Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. A couple of you guys were asking about detaching from an avoidant. I already made the first half of that, which is detaching when you want to stay connected to them in a relationship or a marriage. And the next piece of it, a lot of you guys were asking detaching from an avoidant ex. And so today we're going to talk about how to detach from an avoidant ex and process and heal away from that, not necessarily to re-engage. Even if that may be possible someday, you still want to have some possibility that it may not happen. That's kind of my understanding of what you guys were asking for. This is for both fearful or dismissive. Let's go ahead and jump right in. We will summarize at the end, okay? The first one is understand the reality of the situation. Nobody is perfect. You made mistakes. They also made mistakes. They didn't show up the way you needed, and that's pretty much how it happened. Everyone has a different scenario and a different specification as to why that relationship did not work. But I want you to be more comfortable with that reality, whatever it is. So let's give an example so we can kind of add more clarification to this particular trait aspect. Let's say you struggle with your emotions and you are really afraid to be abandoned and you really want your partner to show up for your birthday and they have their own particular feelings about birthdays, and this caused a really big fight. You felt really upset and maybe you threatened to break up, and they felt, you know what, if you're threatening to break up and you're using that against me, I don't want to be together. Let's say that's what happened, okay? And they shut down, they didn't communicate, and yes, you probably shouldn't have said that, but they probably also should have been a little bit more open to how they feel, and they're not fighting for the relationship. So these are two different aspects, and I don't agree with breaking up as an ultimatum. A lot of you guys know that, but sometimes that happens. Let's say that's your scenario. Accept what you did, but also accept that if they're not forgiving you, then they probably have their own things that they need to work on, or they don't value this relationship as much, because a lot of people, when they care about you, they will forgive these things, especially if it's the first instance. But if they do not forgive it, it means that there are probably other things in the relationship that they probably were not happy with or they didn't want. And for you, there could be someone out there who understands what you need to do, and you want to fix yourself as well, and you might be able to find your needs elsewhere. And so just be more realistic about the situation. That's just an example. Maybe you did nothing and they did everything. Maybe they did everything, you did nothing. I don't know your situation, but normally both people have some ability to take responsibility to what's going on, or they need to really add clarification. Okay, the next one is be aware of who they actually are, not the idea of them. Okay, let's say a person that you really feel attracted to, they have no interest in you, or they have little interest in you. Maybe they're not even an avoidant, right? Maybe they're somebody who is married. And usually if a person is married and you're the affair partner, you might feel like they're an avoidant, but very likely they are not, because avoidant individuals struggle with commitment in general. It's very hard to be with two people at the same time. Like for an avoidant, it's hard to be even with one, let alone two. And so they might not be an avoidant. They may be fearful, but very likely they may just have a lot of other issues that may not necessarily be 100% an attachment issue, if that makes sense. They might be unhappy in their marriage. They might not know how to communicate properly. They might be using you for something. Who knows what's happening? But let's just use that as an example, even if it's not an avoidant example, okay? Who they really are is a person who is in a marriage, whatever it is. Maybe they're unhappy, maybe they're happy, but they're lying. They're not fully honest. I'm not picking on anyone in this situation. I'm just being realistic, right? And maybe they're telling you that they're unhappy because their partner is not intimate with them. They're probably not being fully honest. They're probably being intimate with their partner, and maybe they're also being intimate with you. This is a person who is taking advantage of a situation. Maybe they're afraid of communicating, whatever it is. I'm not discrediting that, but the reality of the situation is this person is in a committed relationship, and they are not in a committed relationship with you. Your idea is that maybe they, love you and they're trapped and they're going to be with you someday. That could be, but in actuality, if this relationship is unhealthy for both of you, the reality is they're probably just going to stay married and use you forever long, or just discard you when they need to, right? That's a very scary reality, but I see it a lot, and I don't want you guys in that situation. And so being realistic of who they are. Let's use a more avoidant-like example. Let's say this person is very detached, and they don't really like talking about commitment in general, and they don't really like talking about moving in together, and you guys are in a relationship, but it's not labeled, and you guys have been together for 3 years. It's very likely it's going to stay like that for a long time. I've seen it where I've had situations in my office, like with couples, where I told you guys this before, where they're literally married and they have kids, and the avoidant partner, he has never said to his wife that he loves her. I have patients like that. He may never say it. A lot of times, if they're working with me, I'm going to help them eventually be comfortable with that, to be honest. But a lot of them are not in my office. A lot of them are out there and, they're doing whatever. So this is a realistic situation, unfortunately. He may never say he loves you unless he gets into therapy, or unless you challenge him, or it might take a while is more likely the better way to put it. And that might be the reality. He may never say it, or he's going to take his very long time because he's uncomfortable with being vulnerable. It's true. A lot of them are like, I just feel weird saying it. It makes me feel weird. It makes me feel like, even though I do love her, I don't want to tell her that because then she has expectations of me. Like, genuinely, this is real things that people say. And so until they face that fear, they might not show up in the way you are looking for. And if that's the reason you broke up, that might be for the better for you. The next one is invest in yourself, such as looking for a better job, more time to appreciate yourself, your appearance, focusing on your health. This can help you detach from that ex, because a lot of times when you're with somebody who you're very invested in, you lose some of this time. And if you're in a happy marriage, sometimes your career might struggle just a little bit, especially in the beginning, but it's because you're investing that time in something else. However, if you're over investing in a relationship, these areas struggle even more. They suffer even more. And so I would say investing in yourself so that you can make up for that lost time and also be happy with yourself can really help. The next one is I want you to, well, I don't want you, whatever you want to do, being honest with yourself and being realistic about how you feel if they come back, right? I'm not saying I want you to do this. I know I originally stated that. This is not advice. This is just sharing things, okay? But what can help is when they come back, if you want them back, it doesn't matter what your friends say. It doesn't matter what the internet says. It doesn't matter what your mom says. If you want them back, be honest about that. Because what happens is if you are not honest about it, your feelings will only linger longer and it will create more havoc. If you really do want them, be honest. Go give it a shot again. And if they hurt you or break your heart, now you learned again. Be honest. And if they don't, you get that relationship again. Be comfortable with that reality, okay? The next one is you focus on building healthy relationships with others, your friends, your parents, other people in your life, coworkers. Building healthy social networks can really help you to recognize that you don't need this particular person in that sense. You don't need their approval. You don't need them to give you the love that you feel like is there somewhere, because a lot of times with avoidance, it's a very tricky situation. Like, there's a part of you that knows they will show up and they do love you and there is that potential. You're probably right, but it's not, if they're not ready to heal, it's not going to show up for a long time. And so build relationships to which you're not looking for that potential, but it's right there for you, okay? And the last one is you build a healthier relationship with yourself. Challenge yourself when you need to, change when you need to, hold yourself accountable, and be gentle when needed. So these are some of the ways to help detach from an avoidant ex. Let's summarize and then we'll wrap it up. Understand the reality of the situation. Be aware of who they really are, not the idea of them. Invest in yourself. Be honest with yourself when they come back. If you want them, if you don't, be honest. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. This is your life, okay? Focus on building healthy relationships with others, and then build a healthy relationship with yourself. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.